Hey everyone, this is Paul, and welcome to Common Touch of Fantasy. Today we are reviewing Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. I love this cover. It's my favorite cover so far of the year. So, Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. I gave this one a low number, guys. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I didn't really like it. For plot, I gave it a 2. For characters, I gave it a 4. For setting and world building, I gave it a 1. For writing style, I gave it a 1. And for the heart and mind aspect, I gave it a 2. This is a steampunk, alternative, United States history type of book. And the short summary is that it's set around 1880 in the northwest portion of the United States during the Alaskan Gold Rush. It all centers in this town called Rapid City, and more specifically, an actual brothel within this city. Now, when two mysterious figures show up at the door of the brothel, one Indian girl and one Chinese woman, turns the world upside down of the people of that brothel. Karen, along with the other working girls from the brothel, protect the Indian girl named Priya that was forced to work in a less favorable prostitution ring by a man called Peter Bantle. The girls at the brothel, that includes many various different types of women, including a transgender girl and other extremely willful women, stand up to Bantle. Bantle wants to run for mayor, and these women are kinda in his way. He wants to deal with these women. Meanwhile, a U.S. Marshal comes to town. He's looking for a murderer that murders young working girls. His name is Marshall Reeves, and he's an African American that ends up meeting Karen, our main character, and narrator, and they become friends as Karen helps him with his investigation. The investigation then points towards someone that knows Peter Bantle. During all this, Karen falls in love with Priya while she is staying at the brothel. Then helps Priya rescue Priya's little sister from Peter Bantle's clutches. So why might you enjoy this book? Karen Memory has a ton of characters, and it's extremely diverse. For readers that are interested in reading books with diverse characters, you will not be disappointed with this novel. There is a lesbian romance with the main character, a gay bouncer, a transgender female prostitute, Asian characters, Indian characters, African American characters, Native American characters. There's just all different ages and a bunch of different personalities. All the women that work at the brothel are extremely different, and getting to know each individual woman is part of the charm of Karen Memory. Interactions between all the women are great too. They are basically a small family, and they have very strong loyalties to each other. And it's nice to read a book that have women with very strong friendships and loyalty to each other. The relationship between Karen and Priya is the highlight of the entire book, and all the characterization in the book is relatively strong. A lot of the characters are modeled after real-life Americans that were living during that time. For example, Marshall Reeves was an actual African-American U.S. Marshal during that time. Alright, so why might you not like this book? Like I said, I didn't really care for it. The reasons why I didn't care for it, and reasons why you might not like it, is because it is a very uneven book. The world and the writing is very uneven. The first half of the book didn't really have a lot of steampunk elements. It was almost like a Western, but it was working because the characterization and the characters were driving the story forward, and it was really interesting just to read more about the lives of these women. But then Bear decides to add a bunch of steampunk elements in the second half of the book, and they weren't really described very well in the first half. So when they came up in the second half, they seemed very unrealistic, very out of this world, and very just downright silly. But the writing just felt very lost. It was like Bear really didn't know where she wanted to go with her story. The action sequences in this book just really did not make much sense. A lot of times the characters are making dumb choices, and I'm not sure if it was Bear's fault for writing it this way, or it was the characters making the choices. The choices that the women were making during the action scenes just were not thought out at all. In one scene in particular, the U.S. Marshal that has a gun, that has the ability to arrest people, didn't go with the people that were trying to destroy a certain machine that was in a lot of danger, and the Marshal just didn't go with them. And there were other times when, if either the villains or the main characters had a gun with them, they could have ended the story right then and there. You know, there's like the cliche of letting the protagonist live, where the villain's like, oh, I'm not going to kill him or her right now, I'm just going to play with them because I'm such a great villain. And that's in this story, and it's kind of dumb. You know, the incompetence of all the characters, the protagonist and antagonist, just was kind of like an insult to my intelligence as a reader. You know, a lot of times it felt like Bear just really needed to add more scenes and more plot lines to make it a longer book, and also to add more steampunk elements within the book. There were times when something showed up with only 50 pages left in the book, and you're scratching your head saying, where did that come from? There was no hints, there was no foreshadowing at all of that previously in the book. And that's the biggest drawback in this book. There's a serious lack of description. At the beginning of the novel, there's like no description at all of all the steampunk machinery that is available to them. So you really don't know what they're able to do. You don't really know what they look like either. Then later on in the story, these machines are just embarrassingly unbelievable because they just come out of nowhere and they just make no sense at all. The book really needed more foreshadowing, really needed more description, more hinting at what was to come. And there just wasn't any of that. The first half of the novel was good. I really enjoyed it. It had a Western feel. It was great characterization of all the characters in the story, and I was really enjoying myself. But then all the steampunk elements were added, and it just did not work for me. If at the beginning Bear would have set up the story as like a clowny steampunk, adventure book, then I would have been okay with some of the stuff that happened at the end. It was a lot more serious of a book the first half than it was the second. So, if you would like to check out a book with a lot of female characters in it, a book with a lot of diversity, then you should check this out. Also, there's a lot of solid female relationships in this story, and I know that some readers really are looking for that in their books, so you might enjoy that with this story. However, you might want to pass because of the lack of description and the absurd action sequences that just weren't that enjoyable. Unfortunately, I was really disappointed in this book. I will try Bear's other work. I want to read the Eternal Sky series by her. I think those books will be much better than this one. I just don't know if steampunk is really Bear's forte. And I must admit, I am not much of a steampunk person. This is actually the first one I've read, and so I'm not really sure if what is possible in steampunk is something that I just need to get used to or what. In the end, this book reminded me a lot of The Wild Wild West, the movie with Will Smith in it, and that's really just not a good comparison. I am currently reading Alastair Reynolds' Revelation Space. It is a science fiction space opera, highly technical, highly intelligent. I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun. Also revisiting a book that I loved as a child. It is one of my favorite books as a child. It's Where the Red Ferns Grows by Wilson Rawls. I loved this book as a kid, and I wanted to reread something. I haven't reread something yet this year. I'm also listening to The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, I think. And that's okay. It's going alright. Hopefully it gets better. This has been a little bit of a longer review than usual. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys again next time. Please comment, subscribe, and like. And check out my website. A more detailed review will be below at my website. So check that out. Thank you.